Welcome to Beyond the Huddle, a Central Arkansas FCA podcast where faith meets competition. Join host Josh Adair and Zach Rose as they dive into real stories from athletes, coaches, and leaders making an eternal impact through sports. Each episode brings powerful conversations on faith, leadership, and living boldly for Christ in every field of play and walk of life. This is Beyond the Huddle.
Welcome to Beyond the Huddle, the Central Arkansas FCA podcast where faith meets competition. Josh Adair here, piloting this show today. Super grateful that you're here with us. I got my faithful co-host who runs the show when I'm not here, Zach Rose, and just excited to have conversations, dialogues about Jesus, about faith, about sports, about family, ministry, marriage. Whatever else comes up. We've got a pretty good outline, I think, but we'll see how God leads and where we go from there. Got anything, Zach Rose?
As this airs, we'll be at FCA Camp. So
we will.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited. That's why I'm excited about our guest today. It's because he's been to FCA Camp quite a few times. Anything that I've ever heard about FCA Camp when I was a student pastor in Cabot at Mount Carmel Baptist Church, our guest here would talk about FCA Camp, and I had no idea what it was or how to even comprehend anything. I only knew church camp. I didn't know FCA Camp and what it was. In fact, shame on me and every other youth pastor out there. If you see it as a competition to what happens at your church's ministry, you are so very wrong. It's not a competition at all. It's a compliment, and it reaches kids that you want and that are in your student ministry, but most time don't even darken a church door, and as a way to lead them into a growing ministry. So,
yeah, it'll be a great week. I'm excited for it. Got some new games. We're adjusting and making it all work.
Tweaking, and we just found out today we have more huddles than we were supposed to because for the first time ever in Arkansas FCA Camp history, their senior boys, which is 10th through 12th grade, is full. There are actually more 10th through 12th grade boys going to FCA Camp than there are girls registered.
Let's go, boys. That's awesome.
So I guess if you think about that from a guy's perspective, a young single boy going to FCA Camp meet girls, you outnumbered them. So invite the girls, boys. Invite the girls. There's still time.
Wow.
Just keeping it real like we always do.
Absolutely.
That's what we do. So without further ado, I want to introduce our guest today. Danny Spencer has been around Central Arkansas for all of his life.
Yes, sir, I have.
And he's been in Cabot for the majority of it, football coach and everything, and we happen to be neighbors. And so I'm just super grateful and thankful for his ministry, his leadership, investment into other athletes. So, Coach, why don't you take a little bit of time and introduce yourself?
Well, thank you, Josh. I appreciate you allowing me to come here and be on this podcast. Didn't know this existed, so this gives me another thing.
Man, we've been doing this a year and nobody knows.
Well, you need to get the word out.
We have.
Get it out to me.
Get it out to you.
I don't get it personally. I don't get it.
You're going to shop it around now?
I will shop it like Christmas in June. Where are we? Christmas in June. My gosh. Yes, I'm excited to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to get to speak and about myself. Yes, I grew up in Jacksonville, went to Arkansas Tech, played football there. And before that, if it wasn't for FCA in itself, I would not be standing here today. I can honestly say that because I had a youth leader at Jacksonville High that took me under his wing and said, hey, you need to go to FCA Camp. So that was the ripe age of 14 just the other day. Went to FCA Camp at Oklahoma State in Stillwater. I remember the bus broke down. We had to push the bus to the camp in Stillwater, Oklahoma. There's no trees. I just remember it being hot. And that's when I gave my life to Jesus. And it was, oh my God, I remember it like it was yesterday. I always tell my huddles each year I let them know that I'm a firm believer in Christ, and this is my story. And I started out I was with FCA Camp, was saved. All these hands were praying upon me, my members, of our group. And I could just feel the presence of the Lord say, hey, come with me, trust in me, and good things are going to happen. And I just started crying like a little baby. I didn't know what was going on, but it was the greatest experience of my life. And fast forward through that, always been a part of FCA, even through college, not as much, but I knew where I was going. I said, I'm going to give back, because when I didn't make it, when, every young athlete think they're going to go pro, and you get cut, and that's the biggest way. I was like, okay, we're going to go another. If I can't play it, I'm going to teach and coach it. So that's when I determined I was going to be a teacher and a coach. And so from day one, when I first got hired at Cabot, been here, that'll be starting my 29th year. I knew, I said, these kids, they're begging for Jesus. And you could see it, especially junior high kids are very impressionable. And if you just get them in, they're sunk, hook, line, sunk. But from day one, I've been on fire for him and our FCA. And I guess my second year teaching, I was very fortunate, lucky enough to find the woman of my dreams. And by God, she was on board also. And it's good when you have partnership that sees what you're seeing in these kids. And we were very fortunate. We had children probably after our third year of marriage. Both my children, we grew up in taking them to church and things like that. And they both were saved at Field of Faith. So I thought, wow, how things just work in a full circle. Yeah. And how blessed I was. Those are my children, my own kids, going out on their own and giving themselves to the Lord. And, and I was just the third or fourth of that, just showing them the way, but them figuring it out. And greatest day of my life. And, my wife just worships it, because she understands now, well, not now, but especially when the kids are younger, why it was always important for me to block off that week. I said, all right, I'm going to be at FCA camp. No vacations. That is my vacation. So then, children.
What would happen if coaches thought that way today?
I would like to see, but I've been faithful for the last 21 years now, I think.
This is 21 this year?
21. And, we were talking earlier about Tommy Gilliran. I would always get kids to go to camp, but then, I would show my stature as okay, I'll get you to camp, get you down there, but I wouldn't stay. And so I wasn't getting the full benefit of it because my children were young, and I thought that was my excuse. But I was like, no, they can come to camp. Now they can't be a camper, but they can still be with me. And that was the neatest thing. And my wife saw that, and from that day on, she says, all right, when is camp? We knew used to always be the first week in June, but that's why I always, that I reach out to you early. Right. So just give me the date so I can block it off. And my children know there won't be no vacation, but the vacation is down at camp. They love camp. My son just graduated from college. Hopefully get him off the payroll. Little side note there, but he did graduate with a master, and I'm very proud of him.
That's incredible. And
he is working for Taggart's architecture firm there in the North Little Rock, Argenta. And he said, man, you think they'd mind if I come down and maybe had lunch with you? I said, as long as you're buying, yeah, come on. But I know my wife, she'll pick a couple of days and she'll come down and eat lunch with you. And she'll bring my daughter, which she's starting her sophomore year in college. And they miss the camp. Yeah. It's just, but they're so busy they can't work as a camp leader. But as long as they can hang out with Dad, which I think it's still cool that they're 25 and Caitlin will be 20. Still think Dad's cool. So I said, all right, bottoms up. So
that's awesome.
Just full circle event. And even now that, I don't have my own blood per se, just getting these kids to camp, and you know how passionate I'm about camp. You get them in the camp, and just great things just happen. And I can't, out of all the years, I've only had one kid leave after the second day. I said, you got to give me 24 hours before I let you go. I said, that's all I ask. So hopefully we'll have the same turnout when it gets turned away. Because, I know these children, especially the junior high kids, they are so impressionable, and they want to find the Lord. Mm-hmm. And I feel that, especially with the camp counselors there and all the coaches that come, just seeing them. And I think it means more, even the kids that I take, for them to see me at camp. Not just say, all right, this guy registered me, and I might see him once or twice after. No, I'm for real.
Yeah, he's there. Faithful and visible and vocal and all things.
All things, yeah.
All things participating. And we talked about this in our family the other day. We need our family, our household to be contributors, not just consumers.
Oh, absolutely.
And our household endeavors and everything going on. But with that same mindset, Danny, you've been that faithful contributor to FCA Camp. You've been that faithful contributor on your campus and leading the charge for many years when there wasn't anybody at the high school campus, Cabot High School or Cabot Junior High South. You were, as a lot of people consider, the FCA person in Cabot.
Yeah, they would always come to me and say, hey, Coach, can you help us get someone going over at South? And I would lead them. Like I said, I can lead you to water. I can't make you drink it, but I'm going to strongly encourage you. And there's been some changes through in Cabot that it's going to take a while to get these people. Still, the high school campus, we lead all these kids, and then they always tell me we just don't have a place to go. We don't have no one to go to. And I said, well, push comes to shove, you can always reach out to me. And I know there are at least, I hope, they told me they were going to register 5 or 6 high school boys that were really interested in coming back to campus. I said, well, just let me know what I need to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I told them, I said, you can't give me an excuse that you ain't got a ride, because I drive the bus. I said, I'll drive the bus Sunday for the junior high and come back. I even bring them back home. And then we'll pick up Thursday morning, take them down there, and I'll bring them back Sunday afternoon. So ride's not an excuse.
So you kind of mentioned your perspective as a camper growing up, and you grew up in Oklahoma then, or
Jacksonville? Oh,
Jacksonville. But you went to an Oklahoma FCA camp.
Oklahoma camp.
Because there wasn't a camp in Arkansas.
There was not a camp. Pat Massey was the state director at the time, and I was this little skinny, loudmouth, but I was hooked on Jesus, that's for sure. And I just remember him coming to our chapter in Jacksonville. He was an intern youth pastor, Pat Mulligan, but Pat Massey knew him real well. And then he came down to the meeting, and I was like, man, I want to find out about this camp. I was like, goodness. So I go, and I have an older brother, which he's not the black sheep of the family, and I'm not either, but he wasn't interested in God. He thought, oh, Mom, we were Catholic growing up, and my gosh, you better sit up straight and pay attention, or she'd give you that pinch. And so I going into my 9th grade year, and then I have a younger sister, 2 years younger than me, and then they went all the way to Texas A&M, College Station. I was like, good gosh. I said, I'd love to go. Stillwater was great. And then she got to go to A&M, and I guess it may have been maybe early 90s when they started doing an FCA camp in Arkansas, because that's where we were going. Because my first year teaching and coaching.
1993, Arkansas Tech.
Yes. Because
Mark Henry led the way.
Mark Henry, that's right. I had taken a young man. This was in 2002 or three. It was a small chapter we had. I was just getting going. And he said, Coach, I'd like to go to Oklahoma. I said, did you not hear my story?
The bus is going to break down. It's going to be hot, and you have to push it.
He said, I really want to go. And he said, but I don't want to go to Stillwater. I want to go to Oklahoma. I said, Sooners? He goes, yes, sir. I said, oh, Lord. I said, give me some faith. I said, so I personally drove him all the way to Norman, Oklahoma. Kevin Staples and his parents. Anytime, Coach Spencer, we sure do appreciate you. And that means a lot to me that still, that's 2002, 3, that this kid still remembers that. And teaching his daughter. My dad told me that. He said, your dad told you right. It was just me and him in an Astro van.
Wow.
7 hours there and 7 hours back. Just him and I. But wouldn't trade it for where I'm at. And he gave his life to Christ. So I think I get a bigger reward out of that. Kids coming back and let me know, hey, Coach, if it wasn't for you, I don't think I'd have found Christ. Of all the games I've won, lost, I said, those mean a whole lot more than any victory I'll ever share.
Yeah.
Have you ever counted how many kids you've actually taken to camp?
I tried. I did, because down in the dungeon, you know about the dungeon, Josh.
Okay, time out. The dungeon, for people who don't know, that's where they stick the coaches at FCA camp. It's a dorm that's left over that the kids don't stay in. It's furthest away from everybody so that coaches can have a little privacy and separation and time for Bible study and what other shenanigans happens down there kind of stays in
the dungeon.
Yeah, stays in the dungeon, and it gets ribbed on every time coaches play each other on the field, or they just birthdays or whatever, just call and you talk about FCA camp.
That's where it's at.
I mean, it's a dungeon, but it's a second floor. So however that makes sense, I have no idea, because normally dungeons are down in the basement. It used
to be downstairs.
Yeah.
But I think that's where they put the camp staff, the cooker.
Yeah, the people who live on campus that don't have a home,
they put them in there, which perfectly fine.
Right.
It's, like I said, it's for a week. I can manage for a week. I can rest my head and stay dry, get a shower and bath. So
yeah, I mean, it's not glamorous by any stretch of the imagination, but it's an opportunity to be with brothers that you choose to be with. I mean, you're doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it not for crowns or jewels here, but for crowns and jewels in your crown in heaven. And
those
like-minded individuals all in the same room. I mean, there's a lot of synergy and crazy things that happen in there that no one else can understand unless you're in the room.
You have to be in the room, absolutely. Because after the kiddos do their last little bed check, we come back and we'll have coaches' devotionals and little Bible studies. And I remember the first time that I went, and these guys, they knew where I was coming. They knew how to push my buttons to get me going back in for the Lord, because it was like a recharge.
Yeah.
And it was so what I'm trying to say is exhilarating, and it was fun, and just knowing that, hey, these guys, even though we may compete against each other, we're still going to the same places, and we still have the same views. So maybe not in athletic terms, but I mean, I got more out of our Bible study than I did the camp, because, I mean, y'all don't know, I mean, you go listen to Don Phillips talk, he can talk. But he's got that voice that just captures you. And then you're just plugged in. You spend all day, and we've had them start as late as 10 and go to 2, 3 in the morning. And just talking about the word and what all we can do and things like that. And it's just, I get a bigger kick out of that than the camp. And there are some really good dudes that go down there.
Yeah. You talk about ministry from campers. I guess to maybe explain this, and we've talked about this on the show before, but FCA camp is different than any kind of camp that I've ever been to, where investing in college students to then invest in campers is one thing. Where I was explaining this to someone the other day, the idea of, I know for me as a junior high or high school student, having a college level athlete above me who's ministering to me throughout the whole time I'm at camp, like those kids, I mean, they see a college athlete as like, this is where I want to be in the future.
Almost as close as idolizing.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But to see them point back to Jesus and say, this is where my hope is at. This is where what I'm founded in, is so cool. And then for coaches to be able to step alongside that and say, it's funny, throughout the week, there's not even necessarily a set role. I would say that really any coach necessarily has to play, but getting to be around and be present for athletes to see, as well as running some of the competitions. I know for me, I've seen that as coaches get involved, especially in ministry on campus, everything else flows from that. Groups will begin to grow. Like it's a pretty simple equation in my mind, and it's cool to see how that's kind of flourished. And obviously, you've been doing it for some time now, but to be able to see how things have grown in your time, it's really cool to see. Just how that's gone. And even you kind of talked about coach to coach relationships. Tell us about just how that's improved of growing in your brotherhood with other coaches around the state and having the opportunity, to invest in each other in a deeper way. Do you feel like that's encouraged you over time to be able to feel more confident? Because I guess where I'm coming from is it can feel really isolating sometimes to share your faith or to be bold in what God has called you if you're not surrounded by people.
If you're not surrounded, right.
Yeah.
And that in itself had always been a barrier for me, because, watch your tongue or watch what you say to these kids. Josh will back me on this, like getting popsicles to the kids after a game or a team camp, and then getting called out on that. That was a hard pill for me to swallow. Mm-hmm. This man was going out of his way just to be kind and refresh these kids. And all I asked them to do was, hey, let's give him just 2 minutes of our time and let's thank him. And he's got something he wants to say. Well, that's a no-no in this world. Mm-hmm. I have a problem with that. Mm-hmm. It really bothers me that, this man is taking his time to invest in our kids like ourselves, and he's just rewarding and just laying a couple verses and just say, hey, if you need to talk about the Lord, things like that, not only your coaches here, I'm here. And that was it. We end with the prayer. But that's one thing I did learn from other coaches when I first started coaching was we always start practice with the prayer and we end with the prayer. And I said, you don't have to do it. You got to give them choices. Yep. It's the world we live in. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I hate that.
Choice to get out.
And you don't want to be that kid that's left out, I feel. But I always give them a choice, and those kids know. And I think it speaks more volume, especially, we pray before the game. And I always pray after the game. After I talk to the kids, we're going to come together. I said, it's your choice. I said, I'm not forcing you. So I don't have that parent in the stands say, hey, can be pushing on my child or whatever. But just knowing that the other coaches, I've had teams come join us. And I don't think that would have happened if I'd never made those relationships through camp.
Yeah.
I said, man, you're a fireball. But he said, you're still on fire for Jesus. And I like that. I said, oh, good. I said, because at the end, it's just a game.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you get wiser. Mm. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's so good.
And you talk about the camp counselors, how these college kids, that they do get idolized. And I know for a fact, I've seen it happen that still my kids stay in contact with those counselors. They come to their games, like we'll walk in. We went to Benton. This was 3 years ago, and there were three of the counselors, hey, Coach Pitts, what's going on? I looked at him. I said, you got to be bored. He goes, no, I want to see the guys play. I said, have you seen them? I said, no. They said they didn't think they could talk to you. I was like, oh, my Lord. I said, go get them. I said, we are fine. We're waiting for the next game. I said, I'm not that coach. I said, no, you can't talk to them before a game. No, hey, these guys went out of their way to come watch you play. Yeah. But you better play your butts off.
Yeah, that's right.
And they even come to their graduations.
Let it be the spark.
And I was like, holy smokes. I said, what a great opportunity. I said, because the guy that my camp counselor, he was a walk-on the baseball team. And that's when I thought, no, I'm going to play baseball at Oklahoma State. Yeah, Cowboy. That didn't. I played baseball in high school, loved it, and actually should have played in college too. But that's a different story. But he would call me on the Sandlot. He said, man, was the actors? I'm drawing a blank. The one who went pro on the Sandlot. Stills Home.
Benny the Jet.
Benny the Jet.
Yeah.
So my name is Danny.
They called you Danny the Jet?
He would never call me Danny. He would call me Benny because I was really fast. And I was like, oh, my Lord. And then come tuition,
Benny
2 years later, they make the Sandlot. And I was like, that's me. I was a baseball kid. I love it. I get our whole neighborhood playing baseball. We had a pool. We go swim, go back out and play ball.
That's awesome.
That was my life. I was the one that always got the neighborhood playing ball. But just a great story in itself. But, I'm like I said in the interview, and I had gotten an award for the FCA coach for our region.
360 Coach of the Year.
Yes, 360, which proudly stays on my shelves. And I still show off I was the FCA Student Athlete of the Year. And that's the first thing I show kids that come in my room. 1985. I said, the year it came alive. That's one of my favorite treasures, per se. But again, FCA, if it wasn't for them, I would not be here.
Yeah.
And I'll take that to my grave.
Yeah. That's so cool. And I'm sure Josh can speak to this a little bit, just to see, number one, longevity in coaching, because you don't always see that specifically rooted in one area, in the investment that you can have over time, but also the faithfulness of a coach to say yes to the call that God has on their life. And we've talked about it. I mean, I feel like we've said this over and over and over again on this show, but coaching is a calling, and the Lord equips specific people with specific gifts and abilities to be able to coach. And it's a leadership role. It's also a servant role, especially at the high school level. And to be able to do that over a long period of time, we just want to say thank you for doing that, because you have, I know, made a lot of things in Cabot easier, just to be able to get in, to have someone who is, I can't remember the term you say, but look for, it's not peacemakers. What do you call people who you look on campus and you're trying to find a certain kind of
persons of peace?
Persons of peace. That's what it is. Yeah. That's what we're looking for. And so when you can find that person that you can look at and say, you know what, they understand what we're trying to do here, and they're going to be obedient to the Lord before they're obedient to any other system and whatnot. And we want to be respectful of school systems, absolutely. But even more than that, if we end the race that we're running and the Lord looks at us and said, you were more obedient to the school system than you were to me, then what was it all for to begin with? So breaking barriers is not always the easiest thing to do, but it's worth it if it can change a student's life. So that's a lasting impact that goes so much further beyond just even a week of camp. I mean, if it's a seed planted, they go back to their campus, and sure enough, that's why our campus ministry is so important, because then you continue to water it. That's why our local churches are so important, because then you push your kids to the local church. And that's why discipleship I think sometimes we like to look at it as just a one moment kind of conversion, but over the course of time, as we begin to mold and shape our lives into what Jesus's life looked like, then we can really see the fruit of the labor that we've been putting in to become more like him.
Amen,
so
for sure.
For students to see that, I mean, I've seen some goofballs of students come to camp before and just get radically changed in that moment because they finally had someone look them in the eye and say, I don't think that's right. Or I think you might want to think about that a little bit deeper. Students think they know it all. 23-year-old FCA staff members think they know it all sometimes, and we don't. We're still learning and growing. Even the most tenured of people are still learning and growing. So lots of things to learn and to know.
Absolutely. Have people tell me on their deathbed, I still got more to learn. I'm still here. I got more to learn. I got more to do.
Yeah.
You can't always take the position, all right, I'm here, I've arrived. Then
No, you've got to plant the seeds. And it's funny you say that because it was a couple years ago. We're at camp. We got so much rain. That's not a good thing for camp.
I just looked at the forecast. It's supposed to rain on Sunday when everybody shows up.
Wonderful.
That's even better. Well, so
This is on, everybody wondering, this airs on Monday. We're talking on Thursday about rain that happened probably yesterday when you listen to it on Monday.
And so they had the camp staff. They're going in meetings to determine what they're going to do. So the coaches were in the cafeteria with the high school kids. Well, some of them like to play out in the rain, bring it back into the cafeteria. So they're doing water slides. And I was like, oh, my Lord. I said, look, we can't be doing this. I said, you don't want me to get redneck. I said, see these people around you, they're the ones that's going to have to clean this up. Mm. I said, let's act appropriate. And this kid, maybe he's from Arkadelphia, he was bigger and better. He was the cool dude in camp. And so I had to sit him down and we had to talk. He had come to meeting Jesus and he still was a little resistant. And so I said, well, if that was your mom, would you act like that in front of her? No, sir. I said, well, what's changing here? I said, how about you get that mop from her and you mop this water up and see how she'll feel about that. You're going to make me. I said, I'm just asking you to do it. I said, do it if you want to. But I said, I don't think you'd act that way in front of your mother. And I'll be darned if he doesn't take the mop, wipes it up. No question. But he avoided me the whole camp till the very last day. And he says, he apologized. We're acting like horses rear end and things like that. And I said, live and learn. I said, we're all going to the same place. I said, just be careful how you act towards other people. I said, don't resist authority. I said, I wasn't trying to make an example out of you. And then he comes back the next year and he says, I want to let you know I'm going to be, I'm going to school. I'm going to be a youth pastor.
What?
Get out of town. I said, this same guy I'm talking to? Yes, sir. This is my girlfriend. She's the one who's really encouraged me. I was like, so I'm anxious to see, this was just last year's camp too. What seed has been grown from him.
Yeah.
He definitely was the one that's the kid you don't want to be.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
I love hearing stories like that.
Yeah. Get to see kids kind of get humbled sometimes too. I think that's another aspect of it. What I find to be funny, this might be a little side tangent, is when students get upset playing games that are the most ridiculous games I've ever seen. We're playing Aggie ball where you're supposed to bat with your opposite hand. And before you can run the bases opposite of the way that you run, so from third to second to first to home, you have to put the bat in the bucket. And students get so frustrated and irritated by the littlest things. They come out and they're so upset because they lost a game that they have never played before, that they'll never play again. They won't remember who won camp and really even by next year. But it's so funny to see the moments where you see a leader step in or a huddle leader and they just kind of remind them of the truth. Even though they're steaming, they're steaming because the sun's hot and they're steaming because they're out there running around and they care about the games. But when you can tell a student and say, you know what, what's the larger perspective of this?
That's why they lock it up before and after.
Yeah. Yeah. What was amazing to me is, again, I was talking about this with someone the other day. I remember last year sitting there thinking, well, we got a bunch of, this is my first year at FCA camp last year. And I was thinking, all these students, you get a bunch of athletes here, they're going to be butting heads, like going after each other. And like, we're going to have to break up some fights and stuff is what I was thinking coming in. Sure enough, we got through and I'm like, man, these athletes are a lot better behaved than I gave them credit for. And now there's times where people butt heads because they're competitive. Every competitor will do that here and there. But to see them compete and then respect each other, huddle up, then they rock it up in the huddle and pray out. That's the one thing. You can't be mad for too long because then you got to stand there and you got to talk to the Lord after you play each game too, and pray. So just the structure of it and the ability to stand there, remove kids from their athletic circumstances. Really, you're removing some of their identity from them for a lot of them, because the whole school year they go around, football player on campus, basketball player, whatever it may be, and they're known as someone. When you come to FCA camp and you get put in a random group with a bunch of people who don't know each other, then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, no one knows me by who I am back home. I've got to make my own identity here. And just for those students to be able to be separated in that way, I think is a really, really cool opportunity for them as well. So I'm super excited for it. I think it's going to be a great week. So
I think kudos go out to the camp staff and the counselors in that perspective, because of all the years I've gone to camp, I can't remember a time I had to break up a fight. Mm. I mean, of course, I've slept since then, but I don't think so.
I've been in camp 6 years. This will be my 7th or 6th. I don't know. I've never broken up a fight. Mm. Maybe in the coach's cabin, jawing back and forth at each other, like, all right, time to go to sleep, shut up. But that normally doesn't help either, but I try.
Yeah, when people put things in your bed, that's cross the lines.
So you're saying the coaches are just as bad as the campers sometimes?
It's bad.
There's some coaches that are. I won't call them out by name, but they know who they are.
They're not from Cabot.
They're not from Cabot, absolutely. And, that's one
maroon
thing.
and gold schools.
You kind of go, excuse me, my throat. But that is one thing that I've had taken pride to on camp is everybody knew FCA camp, Coach Venture's out. And I'd always encourage my assistant coaches to come. I think I had one. He stayed, but I guess he stayed long enough for a year that he wasn't coming back. Visiting, which is fine. But that's where I'm going to be. And
So from a coach's perspective, you say you let your athletic director, you let everybody know I'm going to FCA camp. Is there tension there? Is it just known? And how do you navigate if you're speaking to another coach to make FCA camp a priority? What would you encourage and tell them? How do you do it? And how do you just
let them know that's where we're going to be? I said, these are where these kids need to be. I said, my fundraiser is always a student faculty game. And everybody in the office knows that these kids that are going to camp because of the games and through FCA itself, it's not just – I said, well, it's like church camp, but a whole lot better, a whole lot. I said, you're welcome to come down and visit. I said, it's not that far. I said, really not. It's only like an hour drive, if that. And it's right off 70. Come in, stop in, and just say hello. And I've actually had staff from the junior high come by and say, man, these kids are going everywhere. I said, there's not a dull moment.
Never a dull moment.
And I said, you're welcome. I always tell them, come in the evening to worship. I said, it's usually about 6, start worship about 7. I said, but it's very powerful. And I said, these kids, 9 times out of 10, most of them are locked in. And again, I think all the praise and glory, besides the coaches that are there, are the staff, the FCA staff that put it on, Josh and yourself here, Zach, many more. Just it's a great opportunity for these kids to find the Lord. Yeah. And I would just encourage all these other coaches, hey, they're only missing really 3 days of practice. And then
if you come to junior high, it's 3 days.
3 days in the high school, you're going Thursday, Friday, and really just missing 1 day. Mm-hmm. I said, what are you going to do that Friday? What are you going to do Saturday, Sunday? Sit around and be lazy? Come on. I said, I don't think missing 1 practice is going to keep you from going to the state championship.
Yeah.
I said, there's a bigger glory. There's a greater reward. So the kids that go, the high school kids that I've seen that have gone to camp and come back, they're on fire. And I remember it was probably 3 years ago, the kids, they were actually doing Bible studies before practice.
Yep.
And I was like, y'all know what you're talking about, right? I said, oh, yeah. They just took it from their FCA Bible. Mm. So if you need any help, just let me know. And I remember coming through the field house and very vigilant, and they were there. They made it, I want to say they do it every Tuesday mornings.
They just graduated.
Yep, they just graduated. It's a good group of kids. Yeah. It's like you talk about seeing camp counselors. The picture that Ryan.
Yeah, he was just at.
I don't see his name, and I'm trying to give him a prop. But that is one of the best counselors. Mm. They're all good. He's just a step above because he goes out of his way to go to these kids' events.
What's his name? He's going to watch this or listen to it, and he's going to be mad at me. I can't remember his name. I can tell you everything about him, where he's at and what he's doing. And
he's in dental school?
Yes.
See?
He's at the Cabot game for senior night.
Mm.
There, and then he was at –
because he was to huddle leader, and I just like to show up, and he's going to be at FCA Camp. He's coming through on Thursday. It's going to be great. Gosh, what's his name?
I know Jaden Green knows him.
Yeah, he does.
Because he went to his graduation.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And then
the college leaders that come, when they relate and when they connect, they follow up, and there's a lot of investment in the college leaders in 2.5 days before camp happens, where they teach them that it's more than just who you see. It's relationships after the fact and how to have discipling conversations and how to do discipleship. It's not just somebody who comes in and, all right, you saw your kids and boom, see you later. No, they're actually doing the follow-up and checking up, because if they're going to sweat and compete together and stink together because camp showers and beds, and you can't promise everybody takes a shower or wears deodorant or anything else like that, like they're emotionally and physically totally invested. And they want to know that what they're learning at camp is actually being followed up on and being followed up on throughout the school year. And they do a tremendous job. They do a great job. So, Coach, I want to ask you this. FCA Camp, we don't do traditional games, like sports-specific games. And for a lot of people, other FCA camps across the nation, there's football camp, there's basketball camp, there's baseball camp, or there's like if it's a college campus, then everybody's bringing their legit teams, like it's a legit team camp. What would you say from a football coach who's been around for 29 years at Cabot, transitioning into a new sport this year to become tennis coach? It's not – how have you seen what games we play transition to what actually happens on a football field or a sport back at home?
I like them getting out of their comfort zone, not going into a game. I said, what are these rules? Why are we playing like Aggie ball? This ain't baseball. This ain't, it's like, enjoy it, learn from it. You got to adapt to the rules. Mm-hmm. You know, that's one of the biggest things, because I see those kids, they might hit it a mile and run all the way home, and then it didn't count because they put the bat in the basket.
Or they went the wrong way.
Or the wrong way, and I'm thinking, they're getting out of their comfort zone. They're learning the rules, just like in any other sport you play. And I have to piggyback off that because when we get back, when we start our official football practice, we would always do an Amazing Race game. And I purposely put kids on teams that I knew that kids didn't get along. And it brought them so much closer because they had to work together. If they didn't finish, by God, they're going to finish it. They're going to finish each little station. And we went all around the campus. And just taking the games that I learned from FCA Camp and put them into our own games for ourselves. Very beneficial. Oh, yeah. It's the kids that say, we're going to do this. And actually, the coaches, I said, this is a good conditioning drill for me because it's over 2 miles. And then we went all around the campus. And if you had been to Cabot, Cabot's kind of big.
Yeah.
Especially junior high north, we get a lot of campuses where we cover a lot of ground. And so out of their comfort zone, playing different games, and then coming together, and working as one, as a group, I think it definitely benefits, especially as coaches with our teams. They bring them together. It's like kids, kids are going to be kids. They got their groups, and I try to break that stereotype down. So you're going to get to know. You may not like this person, but you're going to have to trust him.
Yeah,
because you're going to have to rely on him. I said you can't play this game by yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think they get a greater reward out of that. And actually, kids all like the games.
Yeah.
But then they figured out, we got to run.
Yeah. I had a coach the other day ask me, he's like, so you're taking my student, what can I expect when they get back? I'm like, no guarantees, but every kid is different. But he'll be a better teammate.
Absolutely.
He'll be more coachable. He'll be more honoring. He'll be the leader inside the locker room and on the sideline that you've been praying for and hoping for, that you're not developing yourself.
Yeah, it's amazing how many of those kids will step up that have gone to camp because, like I said, turn the other cheek. What are you going to do when my back's to you? I said, the same thing you're going to do to your teammates. I said, it's a team sport. And I said, all the glory goes to God.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love just right at the end of camp, the Amazing Race finishes with carrying this.
It actually starts this year. Last year we changed it.
Oh, really?
They carry it the entire time.
Well, yeah, they carry it the entire time, but at the end, climbing up that hill the last time, it's cool to see that just final shot of they run all around the camp. They're doing all these different things. Everyone's all nervous. I got to stand right at the beginning of the Amazing Race this last year and seeing all those kids come through, and they were all nervous. There was two of their huddle members had to go down the water slide first, and the rest of the team standing there like they're all bouncing up and down like, oh, I'm so anxious and worried about this and that and that. And once they get started and they get going, then it's like, okay, we're just off. And they're all together and they can all bond over being a little bit nervous about what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
And because they want to win. And by the end of it, I love seeing different huddles. They would come back carrying their big wooden plank with them, which is, it's just not the most ideal object to carry. And that's why we do it, because it's a little unconventional and you got to work together to get it up there.
Was it for Jesus?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
That's kind of why we do that.
Yeah. And I remember just seeing multiple huddles last year coming up that hill on the final stretch. And some kids were struggling a little bit coming up that final stretch. But the great thing about it is they all finished together. And the ones that have a little extra energy, that have some strengths and endurance and this and that, they were able to kind of push and propel. And as far as I'm concerned, everyone finished too. That's a thing. Like there was all types of athletes that were at camp. And to see everyone finish and accomplish something together, I think speaks volumes to just the will and determination of getting through it. Because I know I would be huffing and puffing by the time we need to get an FCA staff team to try and run that and see if we can beat any of the.
You can keep your ideas to yourself.
Okay.
Oh,
okay. Sounds good.
I'm glad to see that.
I just would love to. Yeah, I think we
awesome.
need Humboldt sometimes too. Yeah, absolutely.
Love to see the coaches run it.
Yeah, I think we got to make that happen.
We want to keep the coaches, make sure everything's running smooth. We want to run those games.
I think the coaches need to lead by example.
Show us how to do it.
I did lead, but yeah, that's the thing with the Amazing Race. They start together and they always finish. They can't go to the next obstacle till everybody's together.
Yeah.
And that's where the coaches were at, making sure they started together and they finished together. So we couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Well, for most people doing the Amazing Race, it's the first race they've ever done. Because most of their sports, they don't do with anything. And to know that there's somebody cheering for you on the sideline, pushing you to the end and cheering you on. And so it's the way that we want to be inside the church. It's the way that we want to be inside schools and cheer people on till the end of their race. Whatever it is, the end of the season, when everybody's showing up, the fans are just as important as the people on the field, and it's the entire environment of building the church and looking toward unity. And it's just a lot of fun. We've talked a lot about FCA Camp today, heard a lot about Coach Danny Spencer's testimony as willingness to be used by the kingdom, be used by God to spread the kingdom here on earth. And I just want to challenge you who are listening. If you have the availability, God will provide the ability. He will give you the ability to live for him and to pursue him and to point people to him. All we have to do is just be available, be open, and do what he leads you to do. So, Coach Spencer, thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you, Josh and Zach. I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to come and speak with y'all. This is a lot of fun.
Well, good. We'll get you back on another time. Get you back on some more coaches. We can just talk shop and talk coaches and ministry and marriage and families and all those things. So appreciate you. Appreciate everybody for listening. Thanks so much for joining this week on Beyond the Huddle, the FCA Central Arkansas podcast where faith meets competition. You have a great week.